yesterday unveiled the most sweeping overhaul of financial markets regulations since the Great Depression. Here to engage in our own little fireside chat is the Watchdog on Wall Street, Chris Markowski. Good morning, Chris.
Where's the fire?
Yeah, where is the fire? I don't know. It's cold in here. Okay, buddy. Let's first of all go ahead and put up on the screen here just some base. I know there's a ton of stuff here, but this is a basic kind of look at some of the things that he's talking about here. Strengthen oversight of the financial system, regulate complex financial instruments, create a financial watchdog agency, and reduce risk of failing companies. We'll try to get to as much of this as we can. Okay. Let's go with the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's start with the good, because there's stuff in here that you agree with that needed to happen. What is that?
Well, I like the fact that he's actually pushing, we didn't mention this here, pushing for stockbrokers to actually have to accept fiduciary responsibility. Okay. That means actually put their clients' interests above their own. I am a registered investment advisor. I own a certified financial planning firm. I have to put my clients' interests above my own. Stockbrokers don't have that responsibility. They only have to bring what is suitable to their clients, and it leaves a little bit of problem out there.
Okay, so that's a good thing.
I like that.
All right. Now, where do we start to get into something that's just going too far or misses the point altogether?
Well, it's not. Well, a lot of this stuff is just rearranging the deck chairs. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're calling this the most sweeping regulation since the Great Depression. We just had Sarbanes-Oxley, which was a whole load of nonsense as far as I'm concerned. There are conflicts of interest in the financial markets. The fact that these big investment banks, these big firms, are allowed to trade stocks for their own account and then manage mom and pop's money is a problem. You wouldn't want your doctor being owned by Pfizer or Johnson & Johnson or any of these companies out there. This is
and we have safeguards in those type of industries to prevent against those conflicts of interest.
That's what we have right now in our financial system is conflicts of interest. You can't do everything. You can't be all things. The whole financial supermarket thing has to go away.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, how much of this is likely to pass and how much of it is likely to get pared down? Because, you know, we always see that. Even though it's a democratically controlled Congress and you have Obama at the pulpit there's some of it that's just never going to fly.
It's a K Street bonanza. It's going to be great for politicians. Gentlemen, start your checkbooks because they're going to start writing check after check after check, trying to whittle stuff down. The reality is you take a look at the money that is given to politicians, it's from Wall Street. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. They finance the entire thing. They're buddies with one another. They fly in each other's jets. They go to the same schools. They golf with one another. So don't really expect much.
Okay. And what about this whole, you know, all this it goes to like these stress tests too in terms of like the banks having enough money. I mean, what's being done about this? Do you think that is that legitimate to say we can go into these banks and also hedge funds and say, you know, you have enough to get by or we're going to step in if not?
Well, if we don't have failure here in the United States of America, we lose the United States of America. The reality
there has to be some risk.
There has to be failure out there. Even Paul Volcker, one of Barack Obama's advisors, said, hey, listen, these investment firms trade for themselves for their own account, make all this money, yet when they fail, we have to come in and fix them? No, I mean, this is bad for even small guys like me who did the right thing by our clients and didn't get ourselves in any trouble, now knowing that these big firms are getting bailed out and taken care of by the
President Obama took his health care plan to the American Medical Association in Chicago, where he warned doctors that the U.S. healthcare system was a ticking time bomb and urged them to support his health care plan. Here this morning to discuss is the Watchdog on Wall Street, Chris Markowski. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Okay, so President Obama is really pushing health care reform, wants to extend coverage to millions of Americans that right now are not covered, but his program also includes a public insurance program that many doctors are skeptical about. So explain.
Well, you have to take a look at it this way. The government getting involved and basically starting its own insurance company. We have Medicaid, we have Medicare. Both of these things have billions of dollars in fraud and quite honestly, in my opinion, haven't worked out. But the government's getting involved and saying that, you know what, we're going to start our own insurance company so we can compete with the private sector, to me is a bit scary in the sense that, okay, what's next? Are we going to take over the oil companies? Are we going to take over the food companies because the prices are too high? We need health care reform, but it needs to come from the private sector with free market reforms rather than using the government.
Okay, well, another topic that got them riled up was he received a lot of boos when he talked about medical malpractice cases and how he doesn't want to cap the amount of damages that someone could receive if they were wronged by a doctor. And a lot of doctors are not happy about this because they do think there needs to be some tort reform.
Well, you have to also take, like I said, you have to take a look at the billing and what goes involved. If you're opening up a business and you have your costs that are involved with running the business, and one of those costs is insurance, certain practices, certain certain medical, whether it be gynecology, OBGYN, all these people, they're not getting involved in these areas of medicine any longer because it's too expensive with the insurance that's involved. And I've seen this all the time. Very difficult to find these doctors. There needs to be a happy medium involved. I don't think we should be capping things.
I think it would be dangerous to cap you know, these damages in some cases, because there are some people that are going to need care for the rest of their life. Healthcare costs are just soaring. They continue to rise, and so to put a cap would be dangerous to a certain extent.
Absolutely, but there's also, on the other side of the coin, there's a lot of frivolous cases out there where, you know, God forbid there's a problem with the pregnancy or a problem with the delivery, automatically the doctor gets blamed, and it's not always the doctor's fault.
So do you think that it's possible for them to find a happy medium?
I would hope so. I mean, you're going to have to, because once again, you're not going to have any doctors going into these various different professions, and they're going to only be going into the plastic surgeries, the eye doctors, all these various things that they make more money where they're able to cover their costs. Certain areas of medicine, it's very difficult for doctors to make money. You got to take a look at the bill that they're compiling over going to medical school over that period of time.
Absolutely. And Chris, you will be in our chat room for the remainder of the show.
President Obama yesterday unveiled the most sweeping overhaul of financial market regulation since the Great Depression. Here to engage in our own little fireside chat is the watchdog on Wall Street, Chris Markowski. Hey, Chris.
That's what they're saying, I guess.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
I don't think it's that grand, quite honestly.
Okay. Well, you know, the first hour we talked about some of the good and bad in this, but let's give some perspective here. First of all, rip it right from the headlines. Bernie Madoff, he's telling the SEC he can neither confirm nor deny the allegations.
He settled charges with the Securities and Exchange Commission, and he neither admitted nor denied wrongdoing. Let's get this straight. White-collar crime in America does pay. If you were to go out and rob a bank, and the penalty for robbing a bank was to return part of the money, and you were to neither admit nor deny wrongdoing, everybody would go out and rob banks.
Right.
That's why white-collar crime pays, because we see this happen again and again and again.
Okay. Now, the reason why we're talking about this is because it's your assertion that what we're currently proposing it doesn't really deal with this kind of thing.
Well, what's the world's second oldest profession? We know what the oldest profession is.
Right.
The world's second oldest profession are get-rich-quick con artists. They're not going away.
Right.
They're everywhere. They're not going away. And the best way you deal with con artists is education.
Right.
And we're failing to do that.
Okay. Now, first, though, let's talk about the fact that, you know, what the proposed legislation does not do is get at the heart of this conflicts of interest.
Yes.
Where you have these major financial firms that are allowed to gobble up all these little subsets of the financial industry.
Well, the best example I think I can come up with is your doctor. You go to your doctor, you expect your doctor to be a professional to give you, you know, advice that's best for you, best suited for you, is going to do the right thing.
Unbiased.
Unbiased advice. You wouldn't want your doctor being owned by Pfizer or some pharmaceutical company that was pushing products on you. That's what we have right now in the financial industry. Huge conflicts of interest. How is it that a firm that is going to manage your money is also allowed to trade against you in their own trading account? It's crazy.
Okay, so you have a couple of proposals that are not included in what's currently being talked about, and we want to highlight them for the folks at home here. First of all, financial education. You alluded to this in schools. We're not teaching kids the right things they need to know to live their lives.
We're not teaching them anything. They can put condoms on bananas when they graduate from school, but they're unable to balance a checkbook. They don't understand what mortgage interest is. They don't understand any
compounding interest.
Exactly. All of these things are extraordinarily important, and we never get to them.
Okay, and the second thing is, real quickly, about 30 seconds left, bring back Glass-Steagall, and the part of it that in '99 we repealed that said that financial institutions couldn't own all these conflicting interests.
Since we repealed that, we haven't seen a single decent IPO since that period of time. These were all the conflicts that have come in. If we left that Depression-era legislation up, we'd be much better off.
Chris, thank you so much.